Welcome to Mississippi Outdoors Radio here on Super Talk Mississippi. And joining me in studio from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, as always, wildlife biologist Adam Butler. How are you today, Adam?
Soggy.
Yeah, I think that's everybody right now.
Soggy.
And over to the right, the support system for an incredible mustache from the Law Enforcement Bureau, Major Chris Reed. Major,
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm well.
So how much time do you spend grooming that thing?
It's trying to tame it, get it in check, trying to get it shaped up. Not terribly too much time.
Okay.
The first time I tried to tame it and groom it, I kind of clipped my lip. So I learned quick that you need to be a little more careful doing that kind of stuff.
Well,
Dave, you know Herman there at the front door?
Yeah.
Security guard there. Herman always likes to carry on some
Chat
trash
it up
with
a
Major
little bit.
Reed. They have a good banter back and forth, and you should have heard Herman's comments when he walked through the door with
You're
that thing on his
surprised to
lip.
see it.
I can imagine. And let me just say, Chris, as someone who has had this facial hair since 1986, I think this beard and mustache is the second oldest thing in this room. You're going to love that thing until you get your first head cold. Just warning you right up front.
Yeah.
That's going to be the sticking
cheese
point.
dip is a questionable, stuff that we take for granted.
Yeah.
It's like, am I good to go? My kids are like, what are you doing? You got stuff all over your face. Anywho,
You should. He needs to check himself like he have a trapping license, like a trapper's permit or something.
to make sure I'm clean to go out.
I'm just like you're obviously like toting around a fur bearer. It's like a pelt or something.
No, there could be wildlife in there. You don't
Yeah.
know. You
Yeah.
you can't be too careful.
Well, I think it gives people a sense of assurance when they see someone in position of authority. It just is something that they can trust and rest easy in. That's what my friends tell me anyway.
I am pretty sure we're one step away from drawing a parallel to Magnum PI, so we're going to move on now.
Ooh.
We're
Man.
right there.
I didn't think of that, but
We're
yeah.
right there. I can tell you're on the precipice of it.
Well, I appreciate you.
Do you have a tiny little comb? Do you comb it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just use my hands.
Okay. Just thought I would ask. Just thought I would ask. We'll move on. National Fishing and Boating Week, as long as you don't mind getting wet and the boat filling up with water.
Yeah. We had so last weekend was free fishing weekend. I think we're doing that again on July the 4th.
That's right.
Correct.
Correct.
But you do have to have your fishing license now. So it was the weekend, not the whole week. But yep. So National Fishing and Boating Week. But yeah, you're right. Not the idea is to encourage people to go outdoors, but probably not today and tomorrow. Not looking too good.
Yeah, no, not the first half
But I
of
guess
the
the
week.
wind hadn't been that bad. I mean,
No, it really hasn't. By this weekend, it's going to be beautiful weather again.
Yeah.
So we should be able to get out and about. Now, let me ask you something, Chris, because when we have these free weekends, I want to make sure everybody understands this. You don't have to have a license, but you still have to observe the catch limits, right?
Yeah, all the limits and the regulations are still in place. Those don't go out the window. All the boating regulations are still in place, too, as far as registration and safety equipment. And so you need to have all that on. But it's a good opportunity. If somebody, this time, they very well, the opportunity may be more available than in the past. Somebody wants to try it out and last-minute type deal, say, hey, yeah, I'll go. And it's not one of those where you have to worry about and get a sweat on your forehead and say, oh, I forgot to get a license or whatever that is. So take them out, try it out, and try to introduce someone to the outdoors.
Tom in Carthage, by the way, on the C Spire text line says your mustache is not as good as Sam Elliott's.
That's His is
I would
really
agree
good.
with that. I'm sorry, it's no slight against you, but it's like the gold standard of mustaches.
But he's
so.
got that, the deep voice and that, that Western accent. and
Well, it
all
gives
that.
us all something to work towards. I mean, this thing started, about March, and it's got only thing to do is get better or disappear. That's all in the cards.
For Chris, as the kids say these days, # goals. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd try,
I'm very hip.
Hashtag, I think is how they refer to it.
Oh yeah,
But
sure. Is.
They
Whatever. It's
they
something
probably
like
don't know
that.
what a pound sign is.
Number
on a
sign
phone.
goals.
I did a little stubble for the better part of a week there at the beginning of the COVID outbreak, and
Yeah.
my wife shut it down. She said it had to go.
My wife, she's approving of it. She likes it. So that's probably why it's still taking up real estate.
It's probably the main reason why it still exists.
Yeah,
and we will take your questions because this is what I always call on the show all over the place, kind of a hodgepodge day. We're just kind of catching up odds and ends and loose things.
Frequently asked questions.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And we'll take your question on anything that these guys can help you with on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. If you have a question, whether it be hunting, fishing, boating, anything to do with the outdoors, proper mustache care, whatever, we have the experts here in the studio, and we'll be able to deal with that. Now, the alligator applications that we talked about last week, that's ending, right?
They have ended.
Okay.
Yep, today was the last day to apply. Now, the drawings have not taken place and all that, so you're still, if you applied, you'll be notified, via email. If you get drawn. But, yep, the draw period ended at 10 a.m. today, so we're just a little past it. But now that's just for the public waterways. If you remember, Ricky was in here last week talking about, we have X number of tags for different zones and that sort of thing. Private land alligator applications are still being taken all the way up till July the 1st. So I know we had some calls in the office about that this morning. So, that's still out there if you have your own spot with 20 acres, I believe, is the amount of surface water
I think
you
you're
have
right
to
there.
have to be eligible to apply. So if you got 20 acres of surface water, got a slough or a lake or whatever, you can apply for the tag.
So somebody with a pond, a couple of acres in size doesn't qualify.
Right, correct.
It'd be we need to have what qualifies as a pond versus a lake? At what size are you no longer a pond and you become a lake?
I think it's like 20 acres of continuous.
Well, I know for the alligator, I'm just saying, some people call it a pond. Some people. At what point should you start calling it a lake? Is it 20 acres?
Why do we have to define it?
I don't know. But
it's a good question, I think, though.
What, my question to him?
All questions.
That's what those biologists do. They like to overregulate stuff, overthink stuff, overanalyze it.
For purposes of the private land alligator,
get more data.
Yeah, for purposes of the private land alligator tag, though,
Okay.
you got to have 20 acres of water.
You heard it here first.
I know
Major
that
Reed,
much.
not a fan of
You
thinking.
can call it a pond if you want to, or a lake if you want to.
You set that one up, Chris. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Let's see here. On the C Spire text line, just going to jump to a couple of these real quick here. On the free fishing weekend, can a person from another state fish without having to buy a license?
Man,
It's a good
got
question.
a good question.
And it's relevant now because we have another one coming up, 4th of July weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. Generally, off the top of my head, I'm not aware if that's a national mandate. If it is, it would be available to all. I know. For instance, for some of our like the exempt license stuff is only available to residents of the state. So we'll try to do our best and get back 100% answer on that, so we don't lead either way or the other.
So basically, the answer is stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out, but that's okay. That's okay. Somebody in all caps on the text line addressing something that's on the list. The shooting ranges are open.
They are open. Correct.
All of them, right?
Yep. Been open, I guess, week and a half now, something like that.
Yeah, last Thursday.
Yeah.
Last Thursday they opened back, and they have some COVID stuff in place. When you're outside shooting, you're not generally confined into spaces, but we have implemented some safety features there in the offices for purchasing permits and stuff at the pro shop. So, but they're back open, encouraging folks to get back out there, utilize, these facilities again, and enjoy the outdoors, because there could be some, much needed recreational time that, dealing with all the stuff that we've dealt with in the last 3-4 months, however long it's been now.
Just as soon as it stops raining.
Yeah. And
It's coming, though. We got sunshine coming.
End of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By Thursday, actually, yeah.
Right.
We'll have sunshine in the air. We've got some more great questions, including one I got to get you guys around here to this side of the table during the break because I need you to see this picture. We'll talk about that. Keep your questions coming in from Mississippi Outdoors Radio as we continue next on Super Talk Mississippi. saying that these animals showed up at his mom's house living under her ground level deck. They're pretty sure that they were born there. What should they do about them? Worried for his mom, worried for the animals and everything else. And you saw it. And Adam, your opinion, what are those?
I believe that's going to be a gray fox.
Okay.
Gray fox kits, right? I think what you call little foxes are kits. Gray fox kits. Yeah. So foxes they den, they burrow. So that would make sense that they've burrowed or maybe didn't need to build a burrow. Maybe they can already access under the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this would be the time of the year where they're having young and everything. So I would imagine those little guys are just going to hang out kind of around that burrow area for a few more weeks or something, and then they're eventually just going to disperse and go on their own. So I guess it's up to them. If they're not causing any, I don't know, if they're not causing any problem, they'll eventually leave on their own.
And they're not going to run around there and just make sure, like, if you're feeding animals or pets around there, don't leave it where they can get to it. Try to maybe move that during this period. I mean, that's kind of a neat thing. I know a lot of people are kind of maybe fearful of the wildlife kind of getting a little too close, but, enjoy it while they're there, because in a week or two, they're probably going to be gone and you're not going to see them anymore.
And those look like gray foxes. We have two fox species in Mississippi, red fox and gray fox. Gray foxes are little smaller ones, and they're the more common. They're what you're going to see more often. There's a little bit of habitat difference. Gray foxes usually are more associated with older woods, hardwoods, mixed pine, hardwood type timber, older stuff. Red foxes are usually more associated with like open fields and big open areas, early successional habitat kind of stuff. But I don't know, that's pretty cool. So I guess
cool.
the correct response would be that if they're causing problems,
right.
we do, what we would direct you to would be a nuisance animal trapper.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gets into kind of a question that we get all the time at our office, which is, I've got a squirrel in the attic, or I've got this case, a fox under the deck. The Department of Wildlife Fisheries, we don't do that, but there are people around the state that are licensed that do that as a business, removing nuisance animals. So if it's something that you don't want to enjoy and watch the little fox kits develop and would like to see those removed, I would say call our office at 601-432-2400, and we could, we've got a list of those nuisance animal trappers in your area.
Are they licensed through you guys or through? Okay.
Yeah.
So they are licensed.
And some of them,
through you.
in some cases, some of those are just an individual that operates that as a maybe a side business or something. Some of them they're, very much that's their main business model, and they got catchy logos and that kind of thing. You see their trucks driving around. So.
Well, and we've talked about it before here on the show, but that's one of those things that you think, oh, well, that's simple. Anybody could do that. No, there's a knack to that. Being a trapper.
Yeah. Go try to grab a possum.
Right.
That's the best way to sum it up I could have ever come up with, Chris. That's
There's
perfect.
certainly a knack to it, and I mean, you want whoever's doing it to be humane with it and trained with it. You don't want
to injure the animal.
That's right.
You want to get them out of that situation or environment with an opportunity to relocate them in a healthy manner where they're not injured, or they can survive. In the outdoors where they're meant to be, not in somebody's house.
Exactly.
I'm really surprised those foxes though would come do that close to the
basically in the house.
Yeah, the picture's kind of neat. Like there's the house and there's the little foxes, but you would think with people coming and going, they would not want to be there with that. But I guess they.
Instead, you pull up from the grocery store and you got these two baby gray foxes standing there going, "Sup?"
Yeah, and don't. They are still wild, so don't try to keep them. And I know that the person was not in that arena, but people do try to keep, little game animals and stuff because they're cute when they're little, and they keep them as a pet, and they put them in a pen in the backyard or in something in the house, and that is against the law in Mississippi to keep game animals for pets or to quote unquote rehab that animal back to health. That is not a good idea.
Well, and that's the thing, and we were talking about this during the break. A lot of folks, when they find any kind of baby animal, and they don't see the parent around, their first instinct is to go, oh, I got to take care of it. And they get it and put it in a shoebox, whether it's a baby bird or whatever. And that's not the thing to do, is it, Adam?
No. And this time of the year especially, we get a lot of those calls.
From now until throughout. That's when the animals kind of have their young in the summer.
And, we had a biologist. He doesn't work for us anymore. He was from Missouri and ended up going back home. But he used to be when people would call about the orphan baby birds and things, he would be pretty hardcore with it on the phone. It was
rough
kind
around
of a
the
joke.
edges.
Yeah, he would talk about the circle of life and stuff like that. But that really is, one way to think about it. Most of your wildlife species are going to they purposefully have a lot more young than will survive, and some of those young feed some other critter, and it really is this circle of life. I mean, it's kind of cliche, and that's what it's hard for a lot of people to accept that, but that really is the right answer in a lot of cases. That if you find a young animal, don't feel like you have to help it. In some cases, if it's a fawn deer, the mom's going to come back and hang out. And in other cases, it may be food for another animal. I mean, that's hard to accept, but that is the reality of the world. So
that's just the way it works sometimes.
That is the way it works all the time.
From the 662, how does a non-resident participate in gator hunting?
They can.
We need Ricky back.
We do need Ricky back.
They can't hold a permit.
They can't, but they can go along
be
with
a part of the
they can
hunting
be along.
party.
As Ricky pointed out last week when he was in here, the alligator hunting, as it's grown, it really is pretty cool in that I don't know that if we have another form of hunting where that is so social, and what our alligator season has kind of become, where I don't want to call it teams, but it's almost like that, where you have groups of people who every year are going to gator hunt, and they make their own T-shirts and all that kind of thing. And so, as a non-resident, you can participate in that. You still have to buy the license, but you don't actually hold the permit to harvest the alligator. That is for residents only. But I think I know he has statistics on it. We have people that come from all over the country to participate in that hunt, to be a part of the different groups that go out. And
I don't remember it either. He mentioned it last week. It was a number of states. It was a bunch of states.
I want to say it's in the 40s. I know I've heard him say that. I want to say it's 40-something states. We have people that come to participate in our alligator season from 40-something states.
Chris, this one's for you. I can tell because they used the word laws twice. It says, what are the laws on surface drive mud motors? Are the laws different south of I-10?
There's no regulations that we enforce specific to mud motors or noise of mud motors or any of that. Maybe something they were going along was the noise that they generate, or the apparent, possibly, it may look rough when they're riding through some shallow water, but we don't have anything, and we don't enforce anything in our jurisdiction in regards to specific mud motor or shallow drive motor per se. And anything south of I-10, if there's anything specific to that saltwater area, that'd be Department of Marine Resources. If they have a specific regulation, then they may have something. I'm unaware of it.
There you go. We're getting answers out here today. I like this. Very good. Here's a tough one for you. Back to you again, Chris.
I love tough questions.
Oh, yeah. And this is one of those judgment calls. I can tell you, Joey, right now. Joey in Ethelsville, Alabama, on the C Spire text line. How far can you fish on the 10-tom with an Alabama fishing license crossing over the Mississippi line? You're putting in an Alabama legally, he says. And if you don't know right where that line is, how far over the line can you be and still be legal?
Yeah, there ain't no way we can answer that on the radio. That's and not saying that there's not an answer to it, but that's a one-on-one conversation.
It's a situational thing.
That's got to occur with speaking to an officer who's really familiar with the area, because they'll say, you go around Joe's Pass and you come up to the crook and the red bottle hanging in the tree. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, I do not. We'll get calls like that all the time, and I say, we can put you in contact with somebody who is familiar. You can fish those state line waters with either license, but there's just more questions as far as how far across. type deal.
My rule of thumb would be once you're out of sight of it, you're probably in the danger zone at that point.
Yeah, but that state line is not. It doesn't like hang imaginarily in the air like it does
Yeah.
on Google Earth or a map on your iPhone.
Could you work on that? I mean, could you get like a big glowing line or something out there?
You know, that's going to require multiple states, and so that's just going to be a slow process.
We will continue on Mississippi Outdoors Radio next on Super Talk Mississippi. Back to Mississippi Outdoors Radio and today's Gateway Getaway, Clark-Co State Park in Quitman, Mississippi. Clark-Co State Park, one of the first Triple C's, the Civilian Conservation Corps parks, opened back in 1938. Just south of Meridian, near the Mississippi-Alabama state line, Clark-Co State Park, a favorite Mississippi recreation spot. It's one of the most naturally attractive parks in the state. 815 acres of gently rolling woodlands. It has 43 RV sites, 21 cabins, and water sports on the 65-acre Lake Ivy. They have picnic pavilions, a playground, 2.5-mile-long nature trail, disc golf. I've yet to ever play disc golf, and I want to. I've just never done it. I've never taken the time.
This is going to be. I've done it before, briefly.
Were you any good at it?
No, that's
Okay.
why it was brief.
Okay, just making sure.
Can't throw a frisbee real good.
They also
It kind of hurts your chances of being good at frisbee golf.
Yeah, that does impact your rate of play. You might want to look into Tommy John surgery. That might be the whole problem there.
Yeah, true.
I'm just saying. They also have a seasonal splash pad at Clark-Co State Park. You can make your reservation by going to mdwfp.com. You can call 1-800-467-2757, or you can call the park itself at 601-776-6651. You can also get an annual park permit for $50. That'll give you access to all the state parks for a year. Is the promo over, Adam, for the RV campsites?
No, I believe it's still going. I have to check on
Is that one still going on
Yeah.
with the code? You book 3 nights, you get
summer,
one free.
Summer 2020, yep.
Yeah, summer
Yep.
2020 is what it is. So you can take advantage of that as well at Clark-Co State Park today. They are the Gateway Getaway here on Mississippi Outdoors Radio.
And it's probably worth mentioning, I don't think we did at the top of the show, the splash pads. We didn't go through the whole list of what's open and not open, which we
can do
did
that now if you
last
want to.
week.
Yeah.
Not much has changed since last week, but I do not think the splash pad there at Clark-Co is open. I think the one at Paul B is planned on opening the 11th, I think is what I heard, but the other ones I think are still kind of in flux. So, but yep, so with parks, cabins and all that are available. They're open. We're only taking reservations on Thursdays through Sundays. We mentioned shooting ranges. They're back and going. State lakes, everything's going. Offices are still kind of open and in stages. So we got people working out of offices now, but not fully staffed quite yet. Still social distancing in some ways, and then still no tent camping and hotels at the parks, the couple that do have the hotels.
But we continue to move forward.
And the museum is still not open to the public, but they are doing a bunch of virtual stuff. Going to try to get Nicole maybe back in the studio to talk about what all the museums, because they're trying to go virtual with a whole bunch of their outreach and educational stuff. So maybe next week get her in to go through that litany of things, because I would imagine they probably have some opportunities for folks to get kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Some of the
assume
virtual
so.
stuff.
And,
Yeah.
but that's the great thing about the museum. A lot of that stuff they can take online and can
Right.
do virtually.
Right.
It's hard to have a virtual squirrel hunt, So
Yeah, I mean,
there are some things we just have to work around as best we can. By the way, Jonathan and Grenada, all three of us would like to know when the fish fry is. Texted that in, hand grabbing a 60-pound catfish.
That thing's huge.
Yeah.
Looks like a whale.
It really does. No, I'm not in on the hand grabbing. Not going to talk.
That'd be a
into it.
tough one to pull up.
Yeah, and he's going to pull you down. Is the thing. I'm never getting my hand back out of the log. Is what's going to happen there. I know exactly how it works. Let's see, Ray and Picayune with a challenge at the first of it. Don't know if these guys can answer this. It starts.
Uh-oh.
So you're on notice.
We don't have high expectations.
Do you know how long it should take to get the boat they bought from an individual registered with MDWFP? They bought a boat from somebody else, and they're trying to get it registered in their name. How long does that take, is the question.
Generally, on those boat registration forms, there's the bottom tab you can tear off, and it is valid for 45 to 60 days. And so generally a month and a half-ish is what the turnaround time would be in normal circumstances. That being said, the circumstances we're currently dealing with are not normal. And due to us having the facilities, reduced staff in the facilities during the COVID outbreak, they're working as fast as a group of individuals can possibly work to try to get that stuff in and back processed and back out. And so I would just ask for some patience from that person and know this, that if he does have his registration and stuff, the little tabs showing where he's sent off with that, and the enforcement side is going to honor that and not, be out looking to write those tickets for stuff that we know is going on and is a reality due to this virus and getting stuff processed.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be understandable in that situation that you don't have it back yet. You're trying. You're doing everything you need to do. Yeah. It's just a slowdown because of the situation. So, yeah.
Correct.
It kind of goes hand in hand with what we had that the governor announced several weeks back, that the whole being written a ticket for having an expired driver's license was kind of out the window.
Shut down.
Yeah, you can't even go to the DMV. So yeah, we're not gonna penalize you for that. Same kind of situation.
That's right. Yeah, we know people are doing their best, and we're going to use every avenue that we can to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's not saying that there's no circumstance that does not warrant a citation, but that's not. When we first came out and had to deal with the closures and people social distancing or whatever, we were getting a lot of calls about, so I'm going to get a ticket or I'm going to get arrested if I go out with my family. And, that wasn't the intent of it. The intent was to try to, dispel some of the gatherings that were taking place and trying to prevent some of the spread of the disease back when they first came out. And so similar to that with the boat registration issue.
Now, having said that, if you bought this boat from your friend in 2017 and you still haven't gotten it registered?
Yeah, that's going to be a different story. That's where all the facts, that's why these texts, not saying this is the case here, but we'll get a lot of calls and some of those particulars are left out. And you're like, well, and that kind of changes my answer.
Yeah,
but not saying this is the case.
It's the little details. It's the tiny details that'll burn you sometimes. From the 601, I have both of them. Oh, this is complicated. Not really, though. I have both a Mississippi and Louisiana fishing license for saltwater. We put in Mississippi, but we catch fish in Louisiana. If there's a size limit, such as on trout, which one applies? Is it different? How is that judged?
Yeah, I don't know about the saltwater regs not working ever in that part of the state, and
it's going to be marine resources.
That's a marine resource.
Yeah.
We sell the saltwater license for anglers, but we in those officers down there, they may run into it and have better knowledge of it. But I would have to say I don't have the answer for the person at this time, and I'm sorry.
Oh, I guarantee you there is an answer, though, because I guarantee you they've got that worked out, because that can't be a rare thing where...
Yeah, that happens. That happens a bunch. Call DMR, the Department of Marine Resources, and they can give you good guidance on that.
You just need to talk to them, and they'll get the answer right to you. Because I guarantee you there is an answer, but it's a different department.
In freshwater species, on the Louisiana, Mississippi border on the Mississippi River, we would go with whatever state is greatest as far as a bag limit. Now, that's not saying that's the case with the speckled trout or whatever fish he's talking about down there, but he needs to check, or that caller needs to check.
Jim in Madison County, about something we were talking about earlier on the C Spire text line. He says you can overlay charts on good depth finders with Google Earth images that show the state boundaries.
You can, but Google Earth and Apple Maps, if you begin to compare state lines, and it'll get you close, but they vary in distance and they vary in lines. I mean, you can look at stuff along the Mississippi River and this state line goes through this cut, and somebody may have a map from the United States Geological Survey from the 60s that doesn't show that state line there, and nobody's changing state lines. So there are multiple avenues there, so they give you a good spot to kind of be there.
Adam, talking about the annual park pass that we were talking about with the Gateway Getaway, Keith in Scott County, is the $50 a year to access all parks for one person or the whole family?
I believe that would get the whole family. That would, like if they're coming in a vehicle, that would get the whole family in.
Okay. Just passing the question along.
So a carload.
Yeah, a carload. No buses, please. One person on a bus has a annual pass, and you got 20 other
now, you
people.
can't
in
pass
the
it
back.
back. You can't go through and then have somebody walk it back to the car behind you. That probably wouldn't work.
No. You're just causing yourself more problems than you really deserve to have. I'm going to be honest. But that's the answer as we know it right now. Final segment of Mississippi Outdoors Radio coming up next here on Super Talk Mississippi. Mississippi Outdoors Radio. Adam Butler, Major Chris Reed in the studio with us today. And Major, we were talking about this during the break. Sam up in Greenville, can you keep 5 crappies under 11 inches long on Lake Washington?
According to our website, the creel limit possession is linked to release is 11 inches and under. And so that would mean that they need to be bigger than that to keep.
So if they were under 11, forget 5, you can't keep 1.
Now, in the past, these regulations are all fluid due to our biologists going out and sampling the fish in the population there.
So it's Adam's fault.
Nope.
I don't.
If there's any
I'm
fault
first
to be
say,
had, it would be Pew.
Yeah,
It'd
I don't
be
know
Larry
anything
Pugh.
about fish.
But in years past, there used to be where you could keep 5 under 11 or under 10 out of your 30, for instance. So you could have 25 over big fish, and you could keep 5, 10 inches or whatever. But that has obviously changed, and now it's 12 inches or larger.
Very good.
Yes.
From the 662, is a WMA permit required to walk or bike the access roads along the 10-time waterway?
What was the question again?
Is a WMA permit required to walk or bike the access roads along the 10-time waterway?
Those may be Corps of Engineer property.
Yeah, and they may have. Generally, it is. Generally speaking, you have to have WMA permit to do anything on our WMAs. Now, the Corps may have something specific that exempts that. I'm not aware of it, so I'm going to say, yeah, you need to have.
You got a strong base up there in the northeast part of the state. Good listeners up there.
Yes.
I've had a lot of comments from up that way.
And active too.
Yeah.
Now, here's one for you, Adam. It involves no fish. Mark and Terry, when can I bush hog my property to assure I don't disrupt a hen on the nest?
That is actually a question we get pretty regularly this time of year. I usually say wait till July the 1st if you can, because it's even though we're in getting on close to mid-June, there's still a really good chance that hens could be nesting. You're going to see some nesting activity through at least the first half of June. For sure. So late June is when I would be looking if that's what you're worried about. But honestly, if a hen has nested in a pasture, she's probably got a low chance of success anyway. So I don't know that I would let that deter me if you really needed to get it done.
Makes sense. From the 662 again, how do you get a replacement hunter education card?
You can contact our office by telephone. And we can go in the system there and look it up for you. There's also an opportunity on our website where you can go to the education tab and enter your particulars, just a few little particulars, and look it up in the system and request a new card that route too. If you have any issues on the web, you can contact us.
But it's something that can be done.
We get a lot of those questions because those cards, some people have had them for 25, 30 years, and they've been, they go through a rough life and they just break or they fade out or they lose them. And so that's not an uncommon question at all.
Makes sense. Adam, we've got Mississippi Outdoors TV coming up.
Yep, we do. We've had, I guess last week or two they've been preempted with MPB pledge drives and all, but they're back on the air this week. Going to be doing a little wade fishing for crappie at Grenada Lake, and I don't know for sure, but I think that may have our very own Larry Pugh on there, if I remember right. I think I have seen that one before. They're wading out there catching a bunch of crappie.
Big fish.
Yeah, just kind of jigging them in the backwaters there.
In some deep water.
Yeah.
Very nice.
For Pew.
Yeah. A little backhanded compliment there, huh?
Yep.
You're just being short with him.
Also, a rabbit hunt in Panola County. So, got a little crappie fishing on Grenada Lake and a little rabbit hunting in Panola County. Going to air 5:30 on MPV. And then again, 5:30 on Saturday. Is that what I didn't say the day? 5:30 on Thursdays on MPB, and then Saturday again 5:30. And then, as always, you can watch reruns and all of that on our YouTube. Thanks to Chip getting all of that stuff up there.
He does a good job with it.
He does a really good job. He doesn't get enough credit for this radio show.
Yeah, he does. You know who doesn't get enough credit?
Adam.
Chris's lip stylist.
That would be me.
Oh, man. You're a self-made man then.
That's it. That's the only person you can count on is yourself.
Hey, we talk about like the economic ramifications of coronavirus and everything. So one of those, I let my wife try to cut my hair during all of that, like, hey, just give it a try. And she actually did a pretty good job at it. So I hate it for my hairstylist in the future.
Have you continued that?
That may be money that I save from here on out. So some of that economic fallout, man.
Well, at least we got a new nickname for Adam. Gap will be back next week. Major, good to see you and you're right along there. That's it for Mississippi Outdoors Radio. We will reconvene again Monday morning starting at 12 noon here on Super Talk Mississippi. I'll see you tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. Rhino, have a good day, man.